Girl had not smiled in nearly 3 years. Doctors had tried everything, therapists had exhausted every option, and money had opened the doors to the best hospitals in the world. Yet on one bright, peaceful morning in a city park, a struggling single father with nothing more than a kind heart did something that left a billionaire speechless. He had no idea that the little girl's mother was secretly watching from a nearby bench, and he certainly never imagined that one simple act of compassion was about to change all of their lives forever. Before this heartwarming story begins, if you believe kindness, compassion, and second chances can truly change someone's life, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise. Your support helps us continue sharing inspiring stories that remind the world that love is more powerful than wealth. Miles Bennett had been raising his 6-year-old son, Noah, alone ever since his wife passed away from a sudden illness 4 years earlier. Life had never been easy since then. By day, Miles worked as a city bus mechanic, and in the evenings he repaired bicycles in his tiny garage to earn enough money for rent, food, and no school supplies. They lived in a modest apartment, wore simple clothes, and rarely bought anything unnecessary. Yet despite their struggles, Noah grew up surrounded by laughter, bedtime stories, and a father who never let hardship steal their hope. Every Saturday morning, no matter how busy life became, Miles took Noah to the same public park. It was their special tradition. They packed homemade sandwiches, tossed a football across the grass, and watched ducks swim across the small lake. Miles believed that children remembered love far longer than expensive gifts, and he wanted Noah to grow up rich in memories even if money was scarce. That same morning, a sleek black limousine quietly stopped near the edge of the park. Inside sat Victoria Ashcroft, founder of one of the country's largest technology companies and one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the nation. Beside her was her 8-year-old daughter, Arya, who had lost the ability to walk after a devastating spinal injury caused by a car accident 2 years earlier. Since then, Arya had withdrawn into complete silence. She rarely smiled, refused to participate in therapy, and spent most days staring quietly through windows while the world moved on without her. Victoria had spent millions searching for treatments, specialists, and rehabilitation centers across the globe, but nothing seemed capable of restoring her daughter's happiness. Following her therapist's advice, Victoria had begun bringing Arya to the park each weekend, hoping that watching children laugh and play outdoors might slowly awaken something inside her again. Still, week after week, Arya remained expressionless in her wheelchair while Victoria silently fought back tears behind dark sunglasses. As Miles and Noah played nearby, Noah noticed Arya sitting alone beneath a large maple tree. Without hesitation, he ran toward her holding his bright red toy airplane. Miles instinctively called after his son but stopped when he saw Noah kneel beside the wheelchair with the innocent confidence only children possess. Although Arya said nothing, Noah gently placed the airplane in her lap before running back to his father with a huge smile. Seeing the toy resting untouched, Miles walked over and politely introduced himself. He never asked about Arya's condition or treated her differently. Instead, he simply sat on the grass nearby and began telling funny stories about how Noah always believed squirrels secretly held neighborhood meetings whenever humans weren't looking. Noah immediately joined in, acting out exaggerated squirrel conversations that made nearby families laugh. For the first time in years, the corners of Arya's lips moved ever so slightly. Encouraged but careful not to overwhelm her, Miles built a tiny paper windmill from a napkin and a wooden stick he found near a picnic table. When a gentle breeze caught the paper blades, they began spinning beautifully in the sunlight. Noah handed the windmill to Arya, and as she watched it dance in the wind, something extraordinary happened. A soft laugh escaped her lips, the first genuine laugh anyone had heard since her accident. Victoria froze where she stood several yards away. Tears streamed down her face as she watched her daughter laugh again. Doctors, psychologists, and expensive rehabilitation programs had all failed to reach the little girl. Yet a struggling single father and his young son, armed with nothing more than kindness, patience, and imagination, had accomplished what money never could. Miles remained completely unaware that the elegant woman quietly watching from a distance was one of the wealthiest people in the country. He believed he had simply spent a few pleasant moments helping a lonely child smile. But Victoria knew she had just witnessed something no amount of wealth could ever purchase. Before leaving the park that afternoon, she made one silent promise to herself. She would discover who this humble father truly was, not to repay him with money, but because she believed that anyone capable of giving her daughter hope deserved a place in their lives forever. Victoria could not stop thinking about the man who had made her daughter laugh. For 2 years, she had watched the world's finest specialists promise progress only to leave her with more disappointment. Yet a single father carrying homemade sandwiches and a paper windmill had reached Arya's heart in less than an hour. Instead of sending assistants to investigate him, Victoria quietly returned to the park the following Saturday, hoping to see him again. Right on time, Miles and Noah arrived carrying the same worn picnic blanket and a small bag of bread for the ducks. They had no idea that Victoria and Arya had been waiting for them. This time, Arya surprised everyone by gently waving at Noah. His face lit up with excitement as he ran over, and within minutes the two children were laughing together. Miles simply smiled, grateful to see another child enjoying the beautiful morning. Week after week, the four of them met by chance, or so Miles believed. Noah and Arya painted pictures, fed birds, and invented games that allowed Arya to participate from her wheelchair. Miles never focused on what she could not do. Instead, he encouraged everything she could do. He celebrated every smile, every drawing, and every tiny step forward. Slowly, Arya began speaking more, laughing more, and even asking her physical therapist to help her become stronger so she could one day play beside Noah instead of only watching him. One afternoon, Victoria finally introduced herself honestly. She admitted that she owned one of the country's largest technology companies and that Arya was her daughter. Miles was stunned, but only for a moment. He simply smiled and said that to him, she had always been just a mother trying to help her little girl. That answer touched Victoria more deeply than any compliment she had ever received. For the first time in years, someone had looked beyond her wealth and seen her simply as a parent. As their friendship grew, Victoria learned about Miles's life. She discovered how he worked long hours repairing buses before fixing bicycles late into the evening just to provide for Noah. She learned how he quietly volunteered at a neighborhood youth center on weekends and how he often repaired children's broken bicycles free of charge when their families could not afford the cost. He never spoke about his sacrifices or expected gratitude. Helping others was simply part of who he was. Inspired by his example, Victoria realized that while she had spent millions searching for miracles, she had overlooked something much more powerful: human connection. She invited Miles to help design a new community program focused on inclusive playgrounds where children of all abilities could play together. At first, Miles hesitated, believing someone with his background had little to offer. But Victoria insisted that compassion and experience could never be replaced by expensive degrees alone. The project quickly spread across the city. Parks were redesigned to welcome children with disabilities, volunteers organized weekly family activities, and therapists began using play instead of pressure to encourage recovery. Arya became the smiling face of the initiative, inspiring thousands of families who had almost given up hope. Even her doctors were amazed by her emotional progress. Although her physical recovery remained gradual, they agreed that her renewed happiness had dramatically improved her determination to heal. Months later, during the opening ceremony of the first inclusive park, Victoria stood before a large crowd. Instead of speaking about her company's donations or financial contributions, she pointed toward Miles and Noah. She told everyone that the greatest miracle her daughter received had never come from wealth. It came from a father who taught his son that kindness should be given freely, without expecting anything in return. The audience rose to their feet in a long-standing ovation while Miles stood quietly, embarrassed by the attention. As the celebration ended, Arya carefully stood with the support of her therapist and took several slow but determined steps toward Noah. They were small steps, but to Victoria they felt larger than the tallest skyscraper her company had ever built. Tears filled every eye as Noah gently held Arya's hand, encouraging her all the way. Miles watched silently, remembering his late wife, who had always believed that love could accomplish what money never would. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, share it with someone who believes in the power of kindness, leave a heartfelt comment, and subscribe to Kindness Paradise so we can continue sharing stories that bring hope to the world. Special request: please comment, kindness creates miracles. As the golden afternoon sun filled the park with warmth, Victoria realized that the greatest gift her daughter had ever received was not another medical treatment, but the friendship of a humble single father and his little boy. That day, everyone understood a timeless truth: miracles do not always begin in hospitals or boardrooms. Sometimes, they begin with a paper windmill, a child's smile, and a heart willing to care for a stranger.